Hi class, I am going to teach you how to do watercolor. We're just going to do a small demo, okay? We're just going to do a short one just because I want to give you time to learn and do your artwork. So, how to do watercolor. The only supplies you need is your paper. So I have mixed media, so it's going to be very, very thick. You really want some thick paper for watercolor just because we are using water. If you use a thin paper, it'll just get really, really nasty, swampy, and then it'll also leak through. So we have some nice thick paper. We have a cup of water with a paintbrush, watercolor, and then I also have a pencil and some napkins. All right, so first we're gonna start with the sketch. Right now I'm just gonna give you some lines. We also have my paper divided in two different parts because there are two different ways that I've learned how to do watercolor. So I'm going to show you both of them. Starting with the brush, you want a super soft brush, nothing too stiff. Just because watercolor, you do want it to move very, very freely. Okay, with the stiff brush, you won't be able to do that. You'll be mainly scooting it across the paper. With a super soft brush, you wouldn't be doing that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a watercolor paintbrush. It just needs to be a soft brush, which y'all can pick out in the back of my class. Okay, so first, when starting, you're obviously going to sketch out your picture that you want to paint. I don't do it too dark with the graphite pencil because the graphite will mix in with the paint and it'll make it very, very dark. Also, you could see through it because watercolor is a very, very light paint, especially if you use yellow. You'll definitely see your line drawings. So to start off, you're going to dip your paintbrush in the water and you're going to first wet down the paint. So right now I'm just going to use blue. We'll use blue. All right, you're going to wet that down just a little bit. All right, there's been two ways that I've learned how to do this. So first is you water down the surface and then dip your paint and then paint it. I've learned that way, or I've learned clean your brush. This is what the napkin is for, just so you can wipe down your brush after you're cleaning it, and then look at the paper towel. If you still see color in there, that means your paintbrush is not completely washed out. Since mine is clear now, it is completely washed out. One I've also learned is, let's see, I'm gonna use a different color, is after you wet down the paint, you just go straight in for it. Gives it a little bit more of a vibrant color, but it also depends on the painting that you are painting. Depends on how light or dark you need your paint. So, one thing I do want to show you is when you use just a little bit of water, just a little bit. Your paint is going to be very, very thin, very see-through. It's another reason why you don't want your graphite pencil and drawing to be very, very thick. You want it very, very light. Now if you use, actually that was a lot of water. If you use just a teeny bit, I'll just do that. Go back in the green. See how dark that is? Just because I used such a tiny amount of water and more paint. It also, with watercolor, it depends on the ratio of water versus paint. If you have more paint than water, your paint is going to be more vibrant, thicker. You see more color. If you have more water than paint, you will have more of, a very, very light picture. Now what you can do is after you paint it, you could come in and add more water if you didn't like how thick it was, kind of like how I'm doing, lightening it up just a little bit. Now one thing though is that with mixed media, since it is soaking up the water, if you use a very, very light paper where the water just sits on top of it, so let's put a puddle right here. Actually no, let's put a puddle right here. And let's use a different color. We'll use purple. And then let's say I want another color right next to it. Can't put two colors right next to each other unless they dry, because they are going to leak into each other. You're going to have to wait till that paint dries to paint next to each other. Which, luckily, if you can wait till your next class, your painting will definitely be done by your next class. But if you need to work on it the whole class period, we have blow dryers in the back of the classroom where you can use and dry your painting. You'll just have to make multiple drips or trips to you know, paint dry. And then also with your paper towels, if you aren't really liking where the paint is going, you can just soak it up. I wouldn't rub, because if you rub, you'll spread it even more. Just lightly dab, let that paper towel soak it all in. It's not perfect, but after it's mostly dry, then you could come back and really rub and get that picture up. But that is it. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.